Time until I goes, you'll do MacDougal. For our visitors, we did this the other night and I've finally got these other riders to at least join in and participate. And one thing I taught them was that, well, first of all, it's a poem about a cricket match that took place in Australia between Malongo and Piper's Flat, two well-known towns in Australia, and it involves the efforts of one particular batsman by the name of MacDougal and his dog Pincher. So the boys, there's MacDougal only says 4 words, but the boys know what they are. So on the raise of a finger, one finger, they all say fingers. 2 fingers. Robin. Very good. And I thought tonight, just to go a little bit further, you can also join in the last 5 words, which is, and MacDougal top the score. And I'm risking it here, but there's one more thing. When he's running and he's running and he finally gets to 50, you may all say 50! Right. So here we are. How MacDougal topped the score. A peaceful spot is Piper's Flat. The folk that live around, they keep themselves by keeping sheep and digging up the ground. But the climate is erratic and the consequences are that the struggle with the elements is everlasting war. We plough, we sow, we harrow, and we sit down and pray for rain. And then we all get flooded out and we have to start again. But the folk are now rejoicing as they never did before. For we played Malongo at cricket and MacDougal topped the score. Now Malongo had a head on it and they challenged us to play a single innings match for lunch, the losing team to pay. Now we weren't great guns at cricket, but we couldn't well say no. So we set about to practice and we let the shearing go. We scoured the flat for 10 miles round to muster up our men, and when the list was totalled, we could only number 10. Then up spoke big Tim Brady. He was always slow to speak, and he said, "What price old MacDougal, who lives down at the Cooper's Creek?" So we sent for old MacDougal, and he answered in reply that he'd never played at cricket, but he'd half a mind to try. He couldn't get to practice, he was getting in his hay, but he swore he'd show those beggars from Malongo how to play. Now MacDougal was a Scotchman, and a canny one at that, so he started into practice with a paling for a bat. He got Mrs. Mac to bowl to him, but she couldn't run at all, so he trained his sheepdog Pincher how to run and fetch the ball. Now Pincher was no puppy. He was old and worn and grey, but he understood MacDougal, and accustomed to obey, when MacDougal cried out, "Fetch it!" he would fetch it in a trot. And until the word was "Stop!" he would grip it like a vice. So each succeeding night they played until the light grew dim. Sometimes MacDougal struck the ball, sometimes the ball struck him. And when he struck, the ball would plough a furrow in the ground, and when he missed, the impetus would turn him 3 times round. And so at last the day arrived, the day that was to see Malongo bite the dust or Piper's Flat knocked up a tree. The Malongo captain won the toss and sent his men to bat, and they gave some leather chasing to the men of Piper's Flat. When the ball sped where MacDougal stood firm planted in his tracks, he shut his eyes and turned around and stopped it with his back. The highest score was 21, the total 66, when Brady sent a Yorker down that shattered Johnson's sticks. So Piper's Flat went into bat for glory and renown. Like the grass before the scythe, our wickets tumbled down. 9 wickets down for 17. We needed 50 more to win. The captain heaved a sigh and sent MacDougal in. 10 to 1 you'll lose it, said a barracker from the crowd. MacDougal said, "I'll take that mug," and laid his money down, and he girded up his moleskins in his self-reliant style, put on his hat and gloves, and faced the bowler with a smile. He held his bat the wrong side out, Johnson, with a grin, stepped lightly to the bowling crease and said, "A wobbler in." MacDougal spooned it softly back, and Johnson waited there. MacDougal crying, "Fantastic!" started running like a hare. Malongo shouted, "Victory, he's out, as sure as eggs," when Pincher darted through the crowd and ran through Johnson's legs. He seized the ball like lightning, then he ran behind a log, and MacDougal started running while Malongo chased the dog. They chased him up, they chased him down, they chased him round, and then he darted through the slip rail as the scorer shouted, "10!" MacDougal puffed, Malongo swore, excitement was intense as the scorer shouted, "20!" Pincher cleared the barbed wire fence. "Let's head him off," shrieked Malongo. "Brain the mongrel with a bat! Run it out, good old MacDougal," cried the men of Paper Spat. And MacDougal kept on running, and then Pincher doubled back, and the scorer shouted, "40!" as they raced across the track. MacDougal's legs were going fast. Malongo's breath was gone, but still Malongo chased the dog, and MacDougal struggled on. When the scorer shouted, "Victory!" then we knew the chase could cease. And MacDougal cried out, as he dropped within his crease. And Pincher dropped the ball, and instinctively he knew discretion was the wiser plan. He disappeared from view. And as Malongo's beaten men, exhausted, lay around, we cheered MacDougal shoulder high, and we bore him from the ground. We bore him to McGuinness's, where lunch was ready laid, and we filled him up with whisky punch, for which Malongo paid. And the critics say they've never seen a cricket match like that when MacDougal broke the record at the game of Piper's Flat. And the folk are now rejoicing like they never did before, for we played Malongo at cricket and MacDougal topped on the